Yo, Natsu here. Welcome back to part 5. If today I sound angry or something more akin to being annoyed, it's because my computer decided to delete some files without my knowledge until basically I used them. I then tried to download something else, which I know is okay since it was something I had already downloaded a while ago that I deleted myself, but there was an update on the game, so I re-downloaded it. Then the game didn't want to work, and basically my entire download bar basically went away. Basically removing, everything I had done for multiple games like that. Since what I was trying to download was actually the 3DS emulator Citra. At one point I was using it, specifically for one game that I wanted to play for 3DS. That didn't work well. I heard that there was an update a while ago, then tried to use it again. Tried to, erase it, making sure to only take what was from Citra. The thing is in my bin, but everything else basically disappeared. And even if I tried to put everything that's in my bin back onto my computer, none of those actually show up, except, the Citra thing. So basically I just lost a few things, mostly pictures, games, and stuff like that. Nothing important, but it still makes me angry because that's, almost 3 years of stuff that I downloaded basically just disappeared in an instant. So yeah, if from time to time I just go and get angry in this video, or in the next one, just keep that in mind. I basically have, a few things to do to try and get back all of that. Though at the same time, my computer didn't seem to actually have lost any, bytes on it. So it might still be in my computer from what it thinks. But it doesn't seem to be, since I literally opened every fucking file on my computer and didn't see shit. So yeah, in the last part, going back to the video, in the last part, I actually ended it right after Deku basically decided to go to another world, since the previous world, basically, he didn't understand something correctly and thought that he couldn't stay there until he controls his magic better. But so he left about a month in, and now he's going to the next one, which, like I explained in the end of the last part, it's the world where Deku had seen a city with demi-humans far in the distance. And that city doesn't have any, that world doesn't have anything magic, supernatural, or stuff like that. It's basically science that's so far along in the future for what Deku knows. And since this world is also a lot less technologically advanced, they basically just see it as magic. Basically, Deku, in the entire year he's going to be there, since yes, this one he is staying for an entire year, if I read correctly from my script, Deku should stay there and actually discover a few things from that world. One or two things in particular that will greatly help him for some of the things. Anyway, so when he got there, for that world, it was only a few days later, just like for the previous world, since, well, obviously, an entire year, no matter which world he is in, every other world only spent about 2 days. While Deku only ages by the speed of his own world. So, no matter where he goes, he only ages from days, well, by days instead of by years. Which is great for someone who likes to train. But anyway, Deku appeared in the at the same place he had appeared the previous time. Well, times, I should say. And there was a small difference. Last time he came, he was only able to see the city in the distance, but this time, a lot closer, there's actually some type of camp, which Deku was a bit interested in. He observed from afar and saw that most beings that were humanoid actually didn't seem fully human, and all seemed to have something that was like animal features. He saw some people with wings, some people with ears, some people with claws, but no direct humans. So, Deku, basically not knowing how people would react to him looking like that, basically decided to at least change his, make wings on his back, which I think I never said, but compared to the kid who he copied it from, which are red, his are actually black, like full-on black mode. His tail, on the other hand, is actually red. So basically making him look a bit more like a devil, or something like that. He then used the transformation magic that he has a bit limited with both magic and Nen, to basically change different parts of himself to see, if he could blend in better. Basically, reduce his size a bit using magic and changing his hair. Well, basically, he only saw people with hair colors that range, from lighter to darker, but without having like red, green, blue, or stuff like that that can be seen in his world. Basically, think of, the hair colors that he's able to see as the same type of hair colors we can see in our world, if we don't count people who actually put colors in them. So, yeah, basically just think the normal hair spectrum for our world. So Deku's green hair didn't match at all, and basically just took the color of, the hair color that he saw was most common between every different species, which was actually white. So Deku, while there, for now, has white hair, black wings, a red tail. Yes, he made sure to see if people with wings and tail did have white hair, just to make sure. And basically he was flying above it, just looking down. Trying to look at people and actually using, increasing his ears capacity to the maximum that it is able to basically try to hear a bit of the language, to actually be able to speak and write it. When he learned it, when he heard it and then learned it, basically what he was hearing was mostly about adventurers thinking that a monster might be nearby because of something that happened a while ago. Basically not when Deku was there, but like a few weeks before that, with something basically big moving around, and they're basically there to hunt it. Then he just heard someone screaming, and then looking at where it was, he saw someone pointing up, and a few people who had wings basically flying up to see what it is, basically talking between them that it might be dangerous, they don't know if it's a monster or a person, and to be careful. Basically, Deku reduced, well, he looks like a 9-year-old, but he reduced his size a bit more to around, well, what he looked like when he was 8. Basically, when the groups arrived up closer to Deku, basically some of them saw him, saw that he looked like one of their species, and basically just asked him who he was and what he thinks he was doing here. This zone is dangerous. Deku basically looked at them a bit weirdly, since he had heard about the monster that might be around, but wasn't sure about what he could answer with. Basically saying that he was actually lost and that, well, before he separated from his family, they told him not to actually get too close to groups of people if he doesn't know if they are good or bad. And then keeping acting like a kid, asking if they are good or bad. One of them just sighing, telling him that he shouldn't be in the area and to just come down since the city, well, the small village they made is a lot more, well, protected than just flying around. Mostly if the beast they think is around is still around. Basically, Deku following them, a few people just seeing them come down with a kid, and basically a few, well, people just kind of going around asking, well, who he is, and if they know anyone that looked like him precisely. Basically, one or two people saying that, well, he has white hair, so he has to be a high species, right? Normally, the kids of those races aren't strong at first and need to stay with with others. So they shouldn't be too far away, right? Like, Deku's hearing that with his hearing still enhanced. And basically hearing something new, which is high species. Basically hearing that, yeah, but some of the lower races can also be born with white hair and then darkening later, so it might also be different. Then talking about how his wings are black, but his tail is red, which normally only happens with a half-breed. So basically, once again, Deku hearing something he never heard of, well, that he didn't hear before, and basically just looking more puzzled over and over and over again. Then them asking Deku directly, so which race are you from, so that we might be able to find your parent easier. Deku just looking at them weirdly because now he literally doesn't have anything to say. With one of them just saying that, well, from the looks of him, he looks like a sheltered kid. Since he does seem to have some meat on his bones, but just from the way he was acting, it doesn't seem like his parents are actually taking him out much. Basically, with one saying that they might never have even told him what race they are from, and even more if he's a half-breed. Making Deku just ask, what is a half-breed? With one of them basically saying, oh god. And basically trying to explain to Deku, well, that different races exist, and that when two of them have a child together, they can either be from the races of either of the parents, or they can actually be something called a hybrid, which is a mix of the two species. And most hybrid normally don't have white hairs, though those with white hairs are of hybrid species, which are more powerful version, and those that might be called, well, closer to royalty from when it was still happening. Basically, seeing Deku's face become more and more over time as a, what are you talking about? And basically asking if his parents ever told him about, well, anything. With him just saying that, no, actually. Basically saying that both his parents were poor, and that, well, even though they talked with him a lot, they basically kept him hidden for, well, his entire childhood, and not letting him have any friends or even talk with other people than them, while not explaining the worlds around him and keeping him hidden. So basically making one of them say that, yeah, it's true that high species hybrid are rare. In fact, I don't think they even compose a percentage of the population. But to the point of not telling you about the world, that's a bit harsh. With Deku saying that it was still okay, he could eat every day and he was able to sleep somewhere without being cold. With basically if you saying that they at least tried to help, well, to be good parents, just didn't do it right. With basically a few people trying to tell him that they can teach him, but that while he's here, it's basically a dangerous zone. Basically asking him if he knows how to fight, because if not, they need to send him directly to, well, a city where he can be protected. Deku saying that he's pretty strong, with one of them just kind of thinking, that's not what I'm asking. With Deku saying, no, I'm serious, and basically going towards the box, which he didn't know what was in there, and basically lifted it as if it was nothing. With a few soldiers just kind of looking at him like, well, while he was going, wait, no, don't try to lift that. Deku just lifting it, and them just kind of thinking, are you okay, boy? With Deku asking why he shouldn't be. With one of them saying that that box contains extremely heavy, well, balls of metals that should be normally used to actually hurt whatever monster they thought was going to be around here. Deku just kind of asked if they're supposed to be that heavy, since he doesn't feel it a lot, basically placing it back on the ground, with one of them telling him to step back and look where his feet were. Basically Deku obliging, and seeing that where his foot were, basically dug down in the ground for about half a centimeter. Basically so heavy that even the ground wasn't able to hold him. Saying that he was able to lift something like that. With then another basically cackles. No, that's not the word. I don't remember what it's called. Basically another time where a massive group of people started basically brainstorming to find what he could be. Basically saying that devils aren't that strong. Well, some are, but even a high species shouldn't be able to do that easily. Mostly when they're young, since they're even weaker than normal ones. With then hearing that he might actually be a devil-dragon hybrid, with someone else saying, or me, be a devil, what are they called? Kitsune hybrid. Basically, kitsune are a fox with 9 tails. Well, from 1 to 9 tails. With the more tails they have, basically being the more powerful they are. So, yeah, basically saying that it might be that, and that it's basically just being shown right there. Deku knowing the name of those two species from his world, though not being sure how they actually change between. Basically saying that he thought, well, basically saying that he thought that kitsunes were giant foxes. Basically, asking him where he heard that, and then him saying that it's from a book he read, with one of them saying that, well, you see, some races actually have ancestors that are monsters. And over time, a certain race that existed before us, actually, only a very small percentage of them still exist. They are called humans. We are called beastmans. Basically, Deku just thinking, so humans do exist. Then one of the beastmen saying that, yeah, well, basically saying not Deku's thinking, because he didn't say it out loud, but just saying that, yeah, but humans are always in hiding or hunting us. Acting as if we were monsters as well. Basically saying that they won't attack them if the humans don't attack first, but they won't be all that inclined to actually letting them closer just for if there's retaliation coming. So Deku basically decided to hide the fact that he was human for now. With one more question coming his way, basically asking Deku, how good is he at reading? Deku saying that he can read pretty well. That was basically one of the only things he was able to do. Read basically very old stories, but that weren't actually history, just stories or legends. But that he was able to learn to read with that. Basically making one of the person ask him, how many books did you read? Or at least how many legends did you hear about? With Deku saying that he heard about a few, then basically naming a few monsters that basically still exist, but are also called, well, that can also be seen in beastmans. Basically naming kitsunes, naming dragons, naming, I had a list of 6. Kitsunes, dragons, wyverns. I think another one was I don't remember the names of the other 3, but basically a tiger made of lightning. Oh right, the firebird is a phoenix. Why the fuck did I forget the name Phoenix? Oh god, what the fuck is happening with my head? Anyway, and the last one, if I remember correctly, was basically did you hear that? Did you hear that in the video? What the fuck was that? I'm just gonna keep walking. I know that wasn't something dangerous, but it literally sounded as if there was a, like, you know the sound frog makes? Like, I think it's called a groan or something like that. But that sound, it sounded like that, but elongated, like, on a few seconds longer than normal. That was weird. Anyway, let's hope I don't know what did that, because if it's a big frog, yeah, I just find it weird. Because normally there's not that big frogs around here. Like, normally they can be held in the palm of your hand. So, really not that big. But yeah, going back to the story, while I'm hoping that I don't hear the sound again. The last creature I really don't remember, so I'm just going to pass it. But yeah, basically Deku saying a few names from legendary creatures he knows of in his world, with basically a few of them saying that, well, those creatures still exist, but there are a lot of legends about them. Basically telling him that for most of the creatures or monsters around, you could most likely find a beastman of them, or a, well, intelligent version of those monsters, since not all monsters are actually mindless beasts. In fact, most dragons, except the young ones, are actually pretty high standing when it comes to their pride and stuff like that. So they don't like to attack people who are weaker than them. Though the younger ones can be rude and actually go and destroy entire cities, simply for fun sometimes. Though the older dragons don't care if we kill them, if that's what is happening. Basically making Deku just think, oh, well, that's something. Basically thinking in his head, so they can kill dragons. With then someone shattering that thought, basically saying, yeah, but we need to be able to defeat them first. Normally, it takes days, and before we even get close to making them weaker, an older dragon basically come to stomp on them and bring them back to their nest. Basically making Deku just think, oh, so not that strong. Basically then saying that, anyway, if he's that strong, he shouldn't have that many problems staying here. As long as he stays out of trouble, at least. With basically them saying that if his parents come looking for him, they at least need to know where he actually is, so to at least stay in the encampment until people go back to the city. Deku accepting temporarily, because he's basically thinking of actually leaving to train a bit. Basically thinking that, well, he's going to go to the city, hoping to just find more about the world itself, until someone basically uses what looks like a wand to basically lift the same box that Deku had moved, with someone asking the guy, like, in the same moment, oh, so you actually have a levitation wand. With the guy just saying that, yeah, it wasn't cheap, so it's useful when moving stuff around, but he needs to be careful with it. Deku thinking, oh, so magic is also in this world. Trying to look at the bracelet he has that lets him see his status. Actually not see, well, since he doesn't feel magic in the air, he basically thinks of, well, seeing if he can actually release it once outside of, well, the group, and basically goes somewhere with someone, well, he literally knows someone is following him, thanks to his Nen being able to feel life force. Basically, Deku trying to go away, the person following him, and Deku basically just hiding himself behind a tent, then moving around, the person trying to follow him still, but didn't see Deku actually hide himself, So Deku basically just kind of went behind the person and asked, "Why are you tailing me?" Basically seeing one of the people that brought him down, basically surprising him, and the guy just saying that the captain wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to go anywhere dangerous, so asked someone to tail him. Deku then saying that, well, he wasn't doing that well of a job. His presence was all around. Basically, a few people around him just kind of asking, what does he mean? With the guy just saying that he thought he was hiding himself well. With Deku just kind of saying that, well, not good enough, and basically going in the crowd and trying to find a spot where nobody's around, while the guy is still following him. Deku basically hides himself in a corner and basically changed his hair color to, well, black. Basically seeing a lot more people having that hair color and seeing that most of those people didn't seem to have weapons or anything like that. So thinking they are the, well, most common or weakest. Which is right. So basically forcefully changed his tail color to fully black, like multiple others he saw. So basically fully camouflaging, hiding, I should say, and hoping not to be caught, and basically putting himself taller this time. So reversing the magic to make himself taller, and basically keep going. Instead of turning invisible using Nen, which could have been a lot easier for him. But since he's still trying to train his magic, he's basically trying everything with magic first. Basically, he also changed his clothes since they are made of Nen, so he can just change them on the moment, as long as he has an image in head. And basically hope that it's enough. With the guy literally passing next to Deku, grabbing his shoulder, Deku thinking he's caught, and the guy just asking, have you seen a young boy with white hair, black wings, and a red tail? With Deku just pointing in a direction, and saying that, well, he thinks he saw one going that way. The guy thanking him and just running, trying to still catch up with Kid, but basically just passing right next to him and even talking to him. Deku just laughs to himself thinking, well, that was easy. Until someone grabs his shoulder again. This time, it's actually a lady, which tells him that she saw him change. Deku just having a massive, all the way from his feet all the way to the top of his head, a massive chill just ran right up his spine, basically scaring him and him looking in that direction, basically seeing a lady who has wings, a tail, and horn that's basically do a weird shape. She basically tells him that she won't tell on him, mostly since she understood that the young boy was literally just trying to hide himself from, a grown man following him. Basically telling him that if he wants to leave town, since she saw the little spectacle, he should just actually go, either through a hole, if he has a earth-moving wand, or earth-moving any equipment that can do it, or that he can try to fly away. Basically telling him that she has a ring to help make people invisible. Deku still doesn't know that it's basically all science, and basically just kind of says that he'll find his way by himself. The girl saying that he is still cute though, with Deku just saying, "What do you mean?" With the girl being a bit flustered on the moment. Basically trying to do, well, getting closer to him, trying to basically grab more of his attention, basically saying that no kid would be moving around by himself, so he isn't a kid, right? You're a full adult yet. You're just hiding, and that's your true appearance. With Deku once again just feeling discomfort, and basically removing her from his arm, saying that he's just going to get away now. With her saying, well, basically flustered again and asking what he is. Because he should have been under her charm by now. And right after having her said that, basically someone punching her on the shoulder, basically having another woman who is smaller and basically having cat ears and tail, basically saying sorry to, well, Deku, and basically saying that she's a succubus, and that if he would have fell to her temptation, he would have already been brought in an alley and probably would have had all of his things taken from him. It's not that she's evil, it's just that, well, her parents taught her to steal from literally every man who she wants, and basically, when Deku was not falling under her effect, well, she kind of almost went desperate. Deku just looked at her like, "Why would you do that to me?" With her saying that, well, if he's able to turn himself into a young kid, he must have good items, right? With Deku just kind of frowning his brows, and basically, like, right now they're hidden in an alley, so nobody can see them. Well, alley, quote-unquote alley, basically hidden between different stuff, basically hiding them completely, and Deku just kind of has his hair turned back to green, his eyes basically pass from super serious to a bit more clueless, let's just say. Basically, he's purposefully doing that, removing his wings and tail, and basically saying he doesn't understand what she means. With the cat girl basically just saying that, "Oh boy, that's more than just a transformation item." Basically saying that even the aura she feels around him basically just changed. Which the reason that happened was basically that he stopped using Nen and magic. He asked her what she means, and basically explains that some people have the ability to feel others' presence. Basically telling him that what he did with the knight was basically that, right? Allowing him to feel him even though he thought he was hiding it well. Deku then said that he is a bit different, with her then asking if he's human. Basically saying that, well, even humans shouldn't be that good with magic items, but she doesn't know if it actually is one, with Deku saying that he doesn't actually have any. Well, except one, basically pours magic into his necklace and the entire top half of his armor basically show up, since that's all he has. Basically saying that, well, that's the only thing he has that is an item. And basically the succubus saying that, well, no, she never saw something like that. Did some of the human or other beastmen's actually create a new item? With Deku saying that the one who made it for him is not here. with the cat girl saying that, well, obviously he wouldn't be in this camp, with Deku saying, a lot further than what you think, but anyway. Basically just turning his hair back to black, taking out his wing and tail back again, and telling them that he isn't even supposed to be here, and that he should go. With the cat girl asking if he is truly a kid instead of a grown man, because she feels more power coming from him like that. With him saying that, well, he is a kid, but that's when but the amount of power is when he disguises himself. Then saying that he's actually surprised she doesn't feel it from his clothes. Before he basically brings out his wings, this time a bright red color, having his armor on still, and basically just kind of flying away looking like an adventurer. Basically going towards the city. And since this time people actually saw the person go from the middle of the city, and, well, they didn't actually think too much of it, since multiple people do that anyway. Basically making Deku able to just leave without problem. The succubus being angry that, well, her trick didn't work, while the cat girl basically told her that she's pretty sure it wouldn't have worked anyway even if he was old enough. Basically saying that succubus are able to manipulate pheromones from their body to make any male of other species fall for them, even human. And that it even works for kids, even up to babies. So if he wasn't, well, even if it wasn't that big, but he literally didn't feel anything. He didn't even flinch or even started to blush a bit. Basically meaning it had zero effect on him. Which the only reason for that is actually because, well, from the magic, the Nan, and his own body already being a lot tougher, as well as him having parallel minds activated and accelerated thought. Basically what's happening when the pheromones were actually entering his body, well, to put it simply, it passed through through him, and was already kind of out of the system. From his body having the regeneration, basically removing any toxins and other stuff like that, and basically feeling those pheromones as that. And one of the parallel minds basically activating it specifically, thinking that this is something weird, let's remove it, not knowing that it was that. Because yes, Deku is only mentally 10, so in itself, he didn't pass through puberty yet. So he's not thinking of stuff like that yet. And even if he was, well, his body literally just removed something that could have been harmful. Oh yeah, also, even though it's literally only been 2 days since he came back from the other world, basically one night where he spent the night at his home and now basically here for a few hours, well, his parallel minds are actually trying to think of a way to, well, quantify his amount of power in a different way than with the, well, status bracelet. Basically, the two parallel minds are trying to think of that specifically because, well, his body will be different. It is different. And basically, while thinking of that, they were trying to look at the bracelet itself. Basically, Deku, well, when he hides the bracelet, in his mind, he can still see what it looks like, and even without touching it, he can make the things moves. So basically, even if he doesn't touch it, he could basically activate the lock function. So basically what he had placed his two parallel minds to do was basically play with it until you find more stuff about it. So yeah, basically for now they're just on that. So yeah. Now we go back to Deku, who basically after not even an hour basically reaches the city, basically pushing everything he can out of himself to go as fast as possible. Just because. While back at the small camp, a few people are still looking for Deku and basically asking for help to find this kid, basically showing a picture made from a special device that for them they basically called a painting brush. Basically, it's not just a normal brush, it's basically, you think of an image, you activate the thing, basically touch a paper, and basically it kind of paints it completely by itself, with every color, everything, basically exactly in your memory. They basically have a few of those, basically asking more people to help look for him. With at one point the succubus seeing it and basically holding her laughter because, she saw how he took the slip from the guy who is asking her right there. Basically the one who asked her is the guy who was already tailing Deku. Basically making it that she's laughing at him because he was literally holding him for a while. But yeah, basically they just lost a kid that seemed to be of a high species and a hybrid. So they are kind of afraid because depending on who his parents are, since they don't know that, his parents aren't in that world, but they still think that, his parent must be powerful. They think the two of them are high species because normally if a high species and a non-high species mix and are able to make a hybrid, it doesn't make a high species. So yeah, but Deku is a hybrid and a high species for what they think from the looks of him. So basically meaning that both his parents are high species and that they are both powerful, just from the strength he had shown. Basically thinking that if his parents are angry and are trying to find him, they might be ready to destroy the entire place just to look for him. Which won't happen, so it's hilarious. So, basically Deku gets to the city, basically drops himself down closer to the gate, which a few guards basically went towards him saying that he needs to be careful and to remove his, helmet to enter the city. Deku basically removes the entire armor, saying that he doesn't have anything on him except that. Basically, the guards just checking to be sure, basically only finding a bracelet on him that they don't recognize or don't feel any quote-unquote magic from that. Basically, they use a certain item to feel for what they call magic, though it's only technology. So since his bracelet doesn't have that, it doesn't react at all. Even his necklace doesn't react. Which they find weird until they think that it might actually be something else and basically hidden inside of the crystal and basically hiding it. But then look at the bracelet, seeing no crystal and basically thinking that, that must be the only thing hiding it and the only thing he has, and basically because he needs to hide that, he has that crystal basically blocking the waves. Asking him if he has his passes, basically saying that he literally has nothing else on him. Them asking if they can basically do a full search. Basically him saying that if they want. Basically them patting all of his clothes, just looking around. One of them basically thinking that asking Deku, those clothes are pretty hard. Are you really okay moving in those? With Deku saying that he's fine with it. Though with his strength being at normal, it might also help with, that. Basically, one of them saying, yeah, being a common, if you have a normal strength, that should be surprising. Basically, someone just kind of one of the guards asking if he can show them, just because they really need to make a thorough search, since depending on who the person is, they have to be careful. They have to make sure that, if you don't have your papers, identification, they need to search you and know basically learn as much about you to do a search for if someone like you exists in a criminal record. Basically, they ask him to show. He basically reduces his strength by a lot. Basically removes his own ability to increase his strength, to basically leave his normal strength, which is higher than that of some adults. Basically, with his super strength, he would be around, think Endeavor and then remove a few muscle. So he's strong, but not yet at Endeavor's level. Though that's going to change, spoiler alert. But that's only going to be after school start, because once this world is done, Deku actually won't go to another world for, a while. Until UA starts, basically all he's going to do between that time is actually train himself in a single world, which is actually, that world where he is in right now. No, he's going to train in the one with magic. Yeah, I think that's what it is. He's going to train afterward only from time to time in the world with magic. Basically trying to develop the different space type magic and other stuff like that. Basically also trying to increase his Nen and fully mix them together to make something more powerful. Basically, he's completely forgetting quirks right now from his training. Basically thinking that none of them would be useful. Though the moment he goes back after being in this world for a year, he's going to stay for 2 or 3 years back in his world, trying to specifically learn about quirks and more of those powers. And then later think, when he's in UA, to actually mix them together. So for now, he's basically limited to what he already has. But yeah, basically, when he shows his strength, his natural strength, for what they see, he's a bit stronger than, normal people who have black hair. So yes, abnormal strength when he looks extremely young. He doesn't look like a kid, but he looks like he's not even in his 20s from the size he gave himself. So they basically just think that, okay, that is uncommon strength. And basically tells him that, he can go. Basically putting something on him to basically track where he is for if something comes up on him. He goes in the city and basically looks around. Basically, after saying that he doesn't have anything and seeing that he doesn't have money, they basically told him that if he wants to get money, he can look for a job. And basically tells about the Adventure Guild. Basically hunting monsters or going in ruins. Or different other types of quests. then basically saying that there is a fee, but they basically tell you that you can do a few jobs before having to pay, specifically for people who don't have money. Basically giving the direction to Deku, telling him that he's not supposed to fly in the city, and that if he absolutely needs to do so, it's normally only if you are flying to get out of the city, but that when you come back you have to explain the reason why you did it. Basically making Deku understand that, okay, yeah, basically everyone who has an identification pass, which they made one for Deku, those are free if you can actually prove that you're innocent and that you just lost it. Though, depending on where you are, you can only get one of those being replaced, since normally you should have paid for the first one. After that, if someone sees you and recognizes you as someone who had already lost it, yeah, you have to pay again. So basically, Deku had to give his age, which he actually gave 21, to basically try to keep up with the age he gave himself. And then kind of just went with that. Basically putting Devil, giving Devil as a name, them not even asking for if he is a common, uncommon, or high. Basically, common are people with black hair. Uncommon are everyone that range between a lighter black to almost white, but not white. High is white hairs. And yeah, that's basically it. Though uncommon have varying strengths depending on their hair color. The whiter the hair, the stronger they are. That's how this world sees it. With brown, blonde, stuff like that, being people who have higher affinities for specific things. So, a lot of people can have only, in every race, they can have only white to from black to white, passing through the entire spectrum, with every other hair color sprinkled in there. With the hair color depending for your strength, the more black it is, the less strength you have. The whiter it is, the more strength you have. With after that, the color itself, basically saying which type of item you have a better capacity with. Like brown hair have easier time with earth type items. So basically no magic truly exists. Nobody can actually use it themselves. Some people basically have the capacities from monsters, basically from being beastmen of that type. So like fire can be people can breathe fire if they are from the dragon race, beastmen, and basically other things like that. So depending on which race you are, you still have those powers, but they aren't actually magical. It's basically all science and genes. Basically, think of this world as Earth, like our Earth, if genetic modification were pushed to the absolute limit, basically creating stuff that literally looks like magic. And then same thing for other things like machines and stuff being pushed to like literally so far that we don't even see them as machine anymore, but that's magic. That's basically that world. So a phoenix, very, very long ago, like multiple millennia ago, they were just birds. And basically that's how things grew. Because of how the genes were modified, they stayed with those even when passing the genes. basically making monsters that are more powerful over time, making the human needs to actually modify their own body to actually be able to survive, creating beastmen and groups of humans who didn't want to modify their body, humans simply being humans. Like, all humans have the same amount of strength as someone they would call common, someone who has perfectly black hairs for beastmen. The only difference is that humans normally have a better control over what they call magic, simply because they are taught how to use technology from a young age, from basically having their parents either having learned of it and then kept creating more, or stuff like that. So normal strength, but better intelligence when using technology, which they call magic. After that, yeah, you basically get the point. Everything isn't magic, but they all think it is. Deku basically had found himself a job at the guild. Basically, them as seeing his black hair, putting him in the lowest rank, and even asking to see his strength just to be sure, seeing that he is a bit better than most black hair people, and then asking him, well, if he had any high species or uncommon in his, well, family tree. With him actually saying that, well, he's actually an anomaly from his parents. Basically, a few people looking at him, with him saying that, well, his mom was actually a high species, basically lying through his teeth to a extreme amount, and saying that his father was actually of the uncommon, but nearly on the white, but really high, nearly to the white, but that he was born with completely black hairs, with his mom saying that some people in her side of the family did get born with black hair, but over time they turned white, with them basically growing so strong that even normal high race basically see them as, well, weird. Basically, a few people laughing at this statement, with one of the receptionists saying that she actually heard of those. Those are called the anomalies. Then asking Deku at which time normally the hair color change, with him saying that they stay black until around 25 years old, until they start to change. Basically trying to hopefully say the right thing, with her just saying that, oh wow. Well, until then, try to do your best. With basically a few people just asking if she's saying the truth, and then her saying that, well, actually, some of them are also in her family. And then saying that, to be precise, her brother is actually one of those. Basically explaining that they can be born from any family, even if both parents have fully black hairs. Around 25, those that are anomalies have their hair start to grow, well, to change to lighter colors all the way to white in a few years, basically becoming stronger than normal high. And that even from the lowest normal races, some of them can actually become strong enough to fight against high of the stronger races. So, if what he's saying is the truth, in a few years they should see the difference. Deku just thinking in his mind, oh fuck, how did I get that? Which, it was just pure fucking luck in that moment. Like, Deku used so much luck that literally, if someone could actually, well, look for plot armor, the machine would have exploded in that moment. Just like every time Luffy's in danger. basically the machine would have exploded. So yeah, basically he was just lucky as all fuck. Basically telling him to train as hard as he can, with her saying that actually the stronger they are before the hair start to grow white, the stronger they get later. So basically telling him to train as best as he can, because if he truly is an abnormal, well, he could become an S rank. Then wishing him luck once again. Then the other receptionist that was already with him telling him to go take requests so that he can then pay later. He basically took one that's literally just go to a forest about 3 kilometers away from the city to pick a certain type of fruit. Basically, on the picture, it looks like an apple, but an emerald color. So not a green apple, but literally an apple that looks like an emerald. Deku basically decided to go for that one, seeing it was an E rank, but seeing multiple price raise. Basically asking for 10 apple. When he brought it, the girl told him that he should pick another one, because even parties from higher levels actually tried to take that one, but weren't able to complete it. Deku just kind of decided to think about it and said that he would still take it. Her basically telling him that he basically just threw away one of the chances to get money before he has to pay or get his license revoked. Deku saying he's going to be okay, basically as saying that there's no time limit and that even if he doesn't find any, he should be back, well, later today. Someone just tell him that, you're sure about that? The forest is said to be only 3 or 4 kilometers away, but the place where you find those apples is actually almost 100 kilometers inside of it. With Deku just saying, yeah, I'll be back today. Basically starting to go out with literally a few people just kind of looking at him crazy, with someone basically asking if he can act as a looker. Basically a quest to look at a newbie to see if they are truly strong or not. Saying that he can go all the way to that forest in a few... Oh, God. Someone's on... Oh, God. A car just passed next to me and the lights were on the high. Oh, God, I think I'm blind. That's just a joke, I can't see, it's just that I have white spots because of how bright it was. Anyway, basically the guy said that he can go to that forest in about an hour, so he shouldn't have any problems following the guy and see if it's true. Basically the girl telling him that he can do it, since from how he talked, it was as if he already knew the way there. Basically, it wasn't set as an actual mission or something that would get him money, but it is something that actually allows some people to, well, the guild, to actually see the strength of a new adventurer. So the guy basically followed Deku, basically hiding his presence correctly, but still being found by Deku. Deku coming out of the gate, seeing the guy, well, the guards that actually said hi to him earlier. He basically said that he took a quest and that he's going to the forest, basically pointing in the right direction. The guy told him that, well, now he can try to fly. Deku basically said that he's waiting for the guy who's going to look at him during his quest. The guy who was already trying to leave out of town basically just looked at Deku with a weird face like, wait, what? With Deku just saying that he heard the conversation. He's going to slow down for him to be able to follow him. one of the guard basically looking at Deku and saying, "You know that this guy is one of the fastest flyers, right? No matter who you are, you won't beat him." With Deku saying, "Okay, I'm gonna fly as fast as I can." The guy just saying, "Yeah, well, try to beat me." With Deku taking out his wings. And then the guards and the guy just feeling a weird energy passing through Deku. Basically, he filled himself with Nen, placed himself, and basically disappeared so fast that, well, there wasn't an actual sonic boom, but because of how he moved his wings to basically flap them, a massive amount of wind basically just blasted a few things away. With the guy who was supposed to follow him basically just kind of starting to fly after him, but already seeing Deku go almost 5 times faster than him. The guy really not understanding what's going on. Basically, Deku arrived at the forest, waited for the other guy to arrive, with the guy just arriving and telling Deku that, "Oh, fuck, you're fast. I went as fast as I could and I couldn't follow you. Who trained you?" With Deku just saying that he trained himself. And basically, like, where he is right now is literally in the place where he can find the emerald apples. Basically, Deku asking the guy if he actually took a quest that's in here or if he's only going to look at Deku. And the guy just said that he's only going to look. Deku telling him that, well, I'm actually going to try something that's, well, from my own. And if I can find them, I'm gonna let you know. The guy basically just looked at Deku a bit weirdly. Deku sat down and basically just closed his eyes and started to breathe normally. Well, calmly. The guy was looking at Deku, and what he wasn't feeling, because of the energy already flowing around Deku, basically Deku was sending as much magic as possible from his body through, well, the trees, trying to remember the extremely small amount of plant magic he was taught. Basically feeling, well, through the trees themselves, and actually sensing a weird thing inside of them. He didn't know yet what they were, though, and basically just kept looking until he actually had found a single tree, which actually had a few green apples. Well, emerald apples. The amount that was requested of him was 10, but there was actually 25 on the tree. Deku just opening his eyes and saying that he found 25 of them. The guy that was set to follow him basically just like, "Wait, what? The trees that produce them only produce about 1 per year. And even then, animals take them almost immediately, simply from those plants being good with, well, allowing an animal to grow stronger, or even humans." Well, not humans, he said beastmans, but you get what I mean. Basically, Deku saying that, well, he found a single tree with 25 of them on it. So if he wants to follow him, to come this way. And basically started walking. The guy followed Deku, basically with an animal actually charging them. The guy wanting to protect Deku, just thinking of, well, I saw his strength at the guild, he isn't that strong. With Deku just kind of moving in front of the animal, and basically just punching it down. Just thinking, I don't need that. Basically just knocking it out nearly instantly. Basically making the guy just think, that wasn't his strength. And basically Deku looking at him in the eyes and basically putting his finger in front of his mouth and doing the sound ch. Basically the guy understanding that Deku is hiding his strength. Basically Deku telling him right after that people must not know about that. Basically the guy asking why, with Deku saying that, would you really believe that someone like looking like me would be strong enough to do that anyway? With the guy just telling Deku, good point, but really? With Deku basically saying that, yeah, no, you see, I'm not from around here. The guy saying, well, obviously. With Deku just saying that he's able to transform his body. The guy saying, oh, so you're not a devil, you're a mimic. With Deku saying something like that. Removing his wings, turning his hair green, and basically going back down to his normal size. If you think, why is he showing his real body to so many people? This world itself actually tries to make people more trusting of others. And Deku's body is actually trying to remove that, but isn't yet able to. Basically what's happening is actually nanomachines, which are basically the basis for magic in this world, just kind of trying to reconfigure Deku's mind to think more like normal people. Basically, those nanomachines are sent out by other humans to try and make them, well, every other humans that those nanomachine comes across, basically like them, trying to be more trustworthy towards the beastmens until they basically try to kill them. But Deku's fighting against it pretty well anyway, so that's a plus. But yeah, though it's kind of backfiring because now he's kind of showing it to non-humans who he is, and they will understand that this is his true self, like not someone controlled. So even if he was to change, they would know it's not him doing that. Basically, Deku doesn't explain about coming from another world, but does say that he is a lot stronger than he seems. And just because of how he looks normally, it wouldn't be the best idea. Basically, the man saying that, yeah, looking like a human, you could be taken as a bad omen. I'm going to end it here. Hope you liked it. Leave a like if you did. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I'm going to read them all. Hope you liked it. Not to. Out.